We're their voice. We're their microphone. They're the voice. We give their voice a platform so that the MTA can hear what all the issues are day in and not day in and but month in and month out as we meet. The issues you raise are very serious issues: rodent control, noise, dirt, but more importantly, it's a general disruption to their way of life. They don't have the same, in many cases, their entrance to their buildings have been shifted, have been changed, they've been cut back. They can't walk out on the street and walk 10 or 15 feet on a sidewalk. The sidewalk isn't 10 or 15 feet in many cases, it's 5 to 7 feet. So their whole way of life has been changed. Getting deliveries for the merchants has been a horror because we now have 4 lanes of traffic, 3 moving. One is some deliveries have to be made on the far side, on the west side. If you've got a shop on the east side, you've got to ferry those goods from the west side to the other. It's very, very difficult to make room for the construction. The parking regulations have changed. They're a horror. They're a hodgepodge. One of the ongoing problems, when a fellow stops to let passengers off, that's fine in a no standing zone. But if he wants to move merchandise from his car to a store or from a store to a merchant, that's not allowed under the regulations. We're working with the Department of Transportation to get the regulations tailored to the conditions that exist on the ground, or to have the traffic enforcement agents have a little more compassion and understanding for the unique role that they play in this drama. They have to take a look at the whole picture of the Second Avenue subway construction, people's lives, people's livelihoods, and they have to be more compassionate.
So bottom line, as a community board, have we made a difference? Have we been able to help facilitate this conversation back and forth between the agencies?
Absolutely. And this begins 5-7 years ago when the MTA first came with their plan for the Second Avenue subway. One of the major concerns of the community was when the MTA has to take property to build a ancillary facility or an entrance to a station, what happens to the stores? What happens to the people? The stores I'm not too concerned about because the plan of the MTA was to only affect stores who had more than one location.
Well, the Century Lumber is going to be missed by many.
That's true.
That's a unique business in New York that's going.
Unfortunately for us, Century Lumber is outside our community district. But within our district, we were all concerned about how are the people who are going to be dispossessed, moved out of their units permanently. How is that going to be treated? We had meeting after meeting. We brought the MTA together with their real estate people, with the people who are going to be affected, with the elected officials. Originally, they were going to have 102 or 3 families going to be relocated. After consultation with the community board and the electeds and the real estate department of MTA, only 49 families were affected. So that's I think a role the community board played.
How's that working out? What am I hearing?
From what I understand, that 30 some odd families have been moved and there have been no issues, no problems. Nothing that's reported to the community board. And at a meeting I attended earlier this month, the MTA said they may have one problem in the people they've already moved. So that seems to be worked out well. They hired a good relocation firm, and they seem to be addressing the problems well. So
the initial offers of amounts of money that they were going to give people to relocate were not very good, but that's apparently gotten
that's been modified.
resolved.
But that's again, when I try to find out what exactly the arrangements were, the MTA said it's between us and the tenant is not happy, is not willing to come forward and they've been satisfied, but they're not going to talk about it.
They're satisfied. That's all it matters.
Exactly. So that's one way the community board worked to the benefit of the community. Another way is providing these forums. My big gripe historically, one of the reasons I'm on the community board, is because I have no patience with people who will meet me in the elevator and complain about something and say, gee, and that's really a bad problem, but they don't reach out beyond the 4 walls of the elevator. What the community board does is we give voice to these complaints and we direct them to the plate where the answers can be achieved, where solutions can be achieved, answers can be had. We talk with every city agency. We talk with the Department of Transportation. We talk with the Department of Sanitation, the Department of Housing Preservation. The individual citizen necessarily can't have that access. We as their surrogate, have that access, and we can make their issue, their concerns known and affect change.
We usually put up a graphic showing the community board's website. For listeners who aren't that familiar with the community board, if you go to our website at www.cb for community board, 8, the number, M for Manhattan, you'll see the calendar. The calendar shows which community board committees are meeting in any given month. If you click on the particular date, it opens up to another page that shows you what's on the agenda of that committee. All of these committees are open to the public. None of them are closed. And third Wednesday of the month is a full board meeting where the issues that come up at the various committees are brought to the full board for, in many cases, for a vote. So take a look at our website, cb8m.com, to learn more about the community board, and you might find that you're interested in getting involved. There's also a place where you can download an application to be appointed to the community board by the borough president. There's been a lot of recent discussion about the blasting of those tunnels that were shown in the illustrations. The initial box that was carved out, that huge launch box, was surprisingly tolerable, the level of the explosions. We were very concerned, but they were very well managed. The blasts for those 22-foot wide tunnels surprised the neighborhood because they were different. They were like thunder. I live on 91st Street, so I'm right there. And they took place in the evening because it took all day to set up these huge, they had to drill a whole series of 8-foot deep holes to put in the explosives all around this 22-foot diameter circle and then blow it out, and it scared the hell out of the neighborhood. It made people think the windows were going to blow in. At first, they didn't know what was going on. They're finished.
Right.
Which is everybody is grateful for. What did you hear as chair about those?
Well, we heard your comment, and we heard it repeated tens and 20s of calls the community board received. The answer we got back from the MTA was this is a different kind of blast than the blast we had earlier. This is closer to the surface. It goes horizontally rather than vertically, and that, and as you say, those holes are 8 feet deep, so there's a greater volume of rock being affected. And I'm not sure if some of the earlier blasting was not of soil rather than bedrock, but I'm not certain about that. But
they could lay mats down on top of the explosives, so those mats damped it down.
Right.
But because this was going this way, they didn't have the
you couldn't dampen
same
the
technology.
And the ground did move when those blasts went off. But as you say, thankfully they're gone. It's over now. We're waiting for the delivery of the tunnel boring machine to fit in there. So the blasting is over.
We got a notice, many of us who serve on the community board, yesterday about the schedule for the tunnel boring machine.
Right.
You might want to talk about that because it's going to affect the community.
Yeah, they're coming in now. They're being delivered now. The pieces are being delivered now, and the delivery should end by the end of this month, by the 30th of April. Because the individual pieces that comprise the tunnel boring machine are so large, those pieces have to come into the city from outside the city overnight between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Those are the rules that are set down by the Department of Transportation. But the greatest impact is going to be when these things do come in. This traffic on 2nd Avenue, probably from 96 to 86, will be stopped dead from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Because these pieces are huge. The crane that's going to lift the 200-ton unit is going to be a monster, and they just have to have total control of that space. And that the way they do it is just shut traffic down. The variable metro signs will be up, notices will be going out, that the traffic will be changed during the 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. until the end of the month.
But there's a certain amount of truck traffic coming in the early morning hours that is going to be affected by that. I guess it'll probably be routed down Lexington Avenue.
I'm not sure how they'll route it.
Can't go down 3rd or 1st because those are northbound streets.
Right.
So,
they can't get very far going that way.
No. But that's going to have an impact. The email that we got, all of us,
Yeah.
said that the tunnel boring machine and backup equipment together over 300 feet long, 18 double-deck rail cars on which the actual backup equipment is carried, locomotives to haul materials into the tunnel, and rail cars for removal of excavated materials will be delivered. The total weight of the TBM, as they call the tunnel boring machine, is 485 tons. It'll be delivered in smaller pieces. I think they said 60 truckloads. Some of the components are between 60 and 125 tons each. So this is it's a pretty dramatic operation. Before the end of this broadcast, which we'll be coming to shortly, we have 2 shots of the tunnel boring machine and the train that goes behind it that were taken by the MTA under 42nd Street, where they're drilling the extension of the number 7 line. Where can the public learn more about the progress or status of this project?
Great. The MTA website is current, almost daily, and that site is mta.info, I-N-F-O, mta.info. You go to that page. On the right-hand side, it says Capital Construction. Click on Capital Construction. That'll take you to the list of the capital construction projects. Second from the bottom is the 2nd Avenue Subway. Click on that. It takes you to the 2nd Avenue page, and all the way down to the bottom of that page, it gives you a complete update on the project of all the presentations that were made to the community board over the last 3 years, and all the updated information that you need and you want is right there.
I see we just put up on the screen the contact information for the community liaison that the MTA has retained to deal with community concerns. There's the number for Claudia Wilson, 212-792-9716. That's 792-9716. She's the representative of the firm that the MTA has retained to work with the community.
Let me say something about Claudia. Before Claudia came on board, and that just a couple of years ago, we had the impression, I did in any event, that the MTA was aloof. That they had a project, they were going to pursue the project, and they weren't very easily addressed. We couldn't get to them very easily. Since they instituted this new plan of having a community liaison, Claudia Wilson by name, I feel that the MTA has become much more engaged. If you have a particular problem during the construction, call Claudia. She will get you an answer. She will resolve the problem. It's not like calling a huge bureaucracy. You're calling an individual who is on site, who can give you an answer or get you the answer. And I think excuse me, that was the turning point in the relationship between the community board and the MTA when Claudia came on board.
I don't know if you can answer this, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. Many parents are upset that while the subway construction continues to chew up billions of dollars, students are apparently going to lose their free MTA bus and subway cards. How are these priorities determined, and how can the public influence this?
Dave, that's a political issue. The MTA's capital project is separate from their the subsidies that they provide on the trains and buses. I don't want to get into that.
Had to put it out there because a parent asked me to. We've got about 3 minutes left. I'd love to get those shots of the tunnel boring machine up if they're available. What have been the biggest surprises to you?